Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna show you my latest vignette based on the latest Lord of the Rings TV show, Rings of Power. So guys, I've been watching the show, I'm not gonna give you any spoiler, but what I want to do today is build a scene from episode 6. Again, without spoiler, we have a battle scene in which Galadriel make a couple of very crazy moves on his horse to avoid spears and arrows through a turn. So let's see what I did here and how I came up with this build. First thing first, I don't have any Lord of the Rings figures or elf figures, so I had to come up with something with whatever I have in my collection. So here we have a simple connection at the back for the spear flying through. This is the only transparent thing that I managed to connect to this one. It's a little bit too visible on top. It would have been better to have maybe some clip or something that can hide a little bit behind, but I don't have any of those at the moment. Then the first thing I wanted to do was to create the Galadriel and the horse. I think here it worked out pretty well. So basically I take a regular minifigure armor, a white face. This is actually from Rey Skywalker, and then here we have a blonde hair, and I think that works out pretty well. Then I need to find a way to connect this to the actual horse. So here I have one of these classic white horse. I had to use the saddle other way around because this has the connection only on one side. I don't have here. So using that clip, I can connect this on the side, and we have Galadriel on this side move around the horse. To add a little bit of details, I have this rope piece connected at the center inside the saddle, and I'm actually very happy with what I did here at the front. I'm just using one of these regular capes that goes around the horse, and then I fold it up, and then I connect everything with this elastic band. And it worked pretty well because you can see the eyes of the horse peeking out just nice. So I managed to get this detail even without a proper regular piece that covered the horse. So I was pretty happy with this. We can arrange a little bit the position right and left or make it lower or higher, but that was about it. Then after that I had to go and create the terrain of this battle. So here I have a base that is more or less 16 by 30 studs big. It's just a layer of plates, and then I connect everything together with more plates, tiles, curved slope, and a little bit of work here on the edges. The main color is reddish brown, but I added a few other colors, in particular the dark brown, that help to get this scene to get a little bit darker, a little bit muddy. There are actually two scenes in the show where Galadriel make these crazy moves on the side of the horse, and I kind of mix them together. So in one of the scenes she's running by this sort of fence. So here we are a transition from the muddy terrain towards the grass, and then there I build with many different pieces this fence. Through the fence I'm using one of these flexible parts that are very useful, especially if you want to create trees and stuff like that. And then I use all sort of rods and cylinders and planks. In this case, for this sort of wooden planks, I went with a different color. I went with nougat because I needed to break it up a little bit from the reddish brown of the terrain, and I think it works out pretty well. I also use these 1x2 rounded plates with the hole, so I can pose these in different angles. And over here also, because the terrain is a little bit higher, is a little bit elevated, I use a bracket and a tile to create a sort of space in which I can slide in. So basically this, I have 5 of these parts side by side. They are all kept together by the tile at the back. They're not gonna go anywhere. So potentially you can create a longer row of these all the way a different height. That is a pretty interesting effect, I would say. Of course, then you wouldn't be able to give much diagonal angle unless you try to work around it maybe with some wedge plates. Over here it was a little bit too low, So I added a bush in dark green, and this also helped to bring this scene to make it a little bit more interesting, to give a little bit of color at the back there. Let me find the right place. Okay, there we go. Now, I think I can start to add the horse so you have a better idea of the scene. Here I have a hinge, so that, because this is an old horse, so I cannot pose the leg, I decided to put it on an hinge, so I can get a sort of running sort of stance to the horse as well. And here we have Galadriel. At the back side, I can show you here, nothing much going on. I have a modified brick to which I can connect this on an angle, so we can have the spear going through. And then if you look this from the front perspective, he has a pretty cool effect. So we have the spear flying through and Galadriel that is making her move on the side of the horse. Now in another scene, she was also doing this move in front of some houses in the village, some stable, whatever, and they were either made with wooden planks or like more stone kind of look, and that's the one that I decided to go with. I had a lot of fun building this. There's no one particular technique that I use, but here I use all sort of things. We have ingots, masonry brick, we have cheese plates, brackets, plates, tiles, curved slope, rounded brick, all sort of things to create all these broken up, very textury kind of wall, with a few planks again to give a little bit of color, and then everything I top it on top with these cheese slopes in 10 to make up the roof. Over here inside I also use a lot of course modified bricks to create the different depth, the different texture of this build. So I think that works out pretty well, and the overall effect of the scene is pretty good. Now the only thing I needed to add is a little bit of additional details here at the front. So of course in the battle there's some casualties. So here I actually use the latest minifigure from the CMF Series 23 because the color of the armor is a little bit lighter, so it worked out pretty well. Because this Númenórean army has a little bit lighter color armor, and I also added that white thing on the top because they have something like that on top of their helmets. And then of course I decided to add a couple of weapons, a couple of swords at the bottom, just to make it look more like a battlefield. So here is the scene that I created. I hope you like it, and let me know if you have maybe some idea for some other cool scene from the show that I can try to recreate in Lego form, even without the official Lord of the Rings minifigure. Also guys, I'm watching Andor, Star Wars Andor. I would like to build some vignette from there, but I'm still trying to figure it out what scene I would be able to replicate, and at the moment I didn't see any very iconic scene. So if you have any idea about that, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Ciao ciao!